I'm Terry Gross. Welcome to West Wing Week.
Welcome to the West Wing Week, your guide to everything that's happening at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. This week, the President visited the Big Apple, where he attended his 8th and final United Nations General Assembly. And back in Washington, he honored living legends in the arts and humanities. That's September 16th to the 22nd, or we'll Photoshop amends.
Technology is excellent.
On Friday, the President held a meeting to discuss how the Trans-Pacific Partnership will help American workers, businesses, and bolster America's national security. On Saturday, the President and First Lady headed across town to the Congressional Black Caucus Foundation Awards Dinner to talk about his accomplishments and the future of the country. On Sunday, the President departed Washington and landed in New York City, kicking off his week at the United Nations. On Monday, the President held a bilateral meeting with Prime Minister Abadi of Iraq. Then he made his way to the United States mission to the United Nations to thank the staff alongside Ambassador Power and Secretary Kerry, who represent America at the United Nations.
All right, everybody. See ya.
Tuesday was full of photos, handshakes, and speeches as world leaders mingled and discussed issues of global concern. After speaking to the General Assembly, the President met with President Buhari of Nigeria. Later, he attended a luncheon hosted by UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon, who, like the President, is attending his final United Nations General Assembly this year. Later that afternoon, the President participated in a CEO roundtable, surrounded by business leaders who have committed to taking action to help refugees. Then the President attended the Refugee Summit, where he urged the world to confront the refugee crisis head-on. With more than 65 million people displaced, the world is enduring the biggest refugee crisis since World War II.
More than 21 million refugees who have fled their countries. Everything and everyone they've ever known, fleeing with a suitcase or the clothes on their back.
On Wednesday, the President attended the U.S.-Africa Business Forum that was hosted by former New York City Mayor Mike Bloomberg and the United States Department of Commerce. Later that afternoon, the President met with Prime Minister Netanyahu of Israel and then President Santos of Colombia. In the afternoon, the President arrived back in Washington, D.C., and that wrapped up the President's final trip to the United Nations General Assembly. On Thursday, back in Washington, the President awarded the National Medal of Arts and the National Humanities Medal to some American living legends. As always, thanks so much for checking out this edition of your West Wing Week.
How old are you now? You look great, man. What do you eat? Wheaties. Does it work? Wheaties? No, it helps.